good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just checking across to see that this all looks like it's working. Yes, it's Sunday night and it's time to talk about everything terrible going on in FPV, because if things couldn't get any worse, now the computer RAM industry is in meltdown, and don't think for 1 minute this won't have an effect on us, because there is a very real possibility it will. But we will talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. Now, obviously, hello to everyone. Hope you are well. I'm just going to get myself aligned, get everything where it should be. I'm not going to bring the super chat window up because we never use that on this channel. We don't need that one. But what I am just going to do is make sure we've got it all in place. Let's hope everyone is well. Oh, what a week here in the UK for weather. I don't know what it's like for anyone, honestly. Where I am, it is horrific. And when it isn't horrifically wet, it's horrifically windy. And when it's not horrifically wet and windy, it's just wet. And there's just never a gap. And even when you think you had a gap, it's like today. It was terrible this morning, and it was like, oh, it's going to dry up. And it dried up for like 20 minutes. And then it was already raining again. And even then it's a risk, because some of the stuff I need to do, I need to fly. And I don't really want to fly them with the ground as bad as it is right now. It's just horrific. Because if you crash in this weather in grass, you're going to burn an aircraft out anyway, because there's that much water in the grass. It's going to kill an ESC or a flight controller. It's going to cause damage. You need to coat everything at the moment. It's just crazy. It really, really is. Now, my cup of tea is arriving. I can see my door is moving. Let me just grab it from my unpaid servant. Thank you very much. No abuse? No? Just a nod of the head. Oh, and a middle finger. There we go. There we are. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the launch of the Antigravity A1, and mine should be here, but unfortunately Parcel Force are fucking useless and cannot be trusted to do anything. Now, let me be clear. I didn't choose Parcel Force. I ordered the Antigravity A1 in the UK from Clifton Cameras on Wednesday. They shipped it out on Wednesday. Absolutely spot on. I cannot complain about them at all. The only thing I can complain is the fact that they charge to use Parcel Force, because it was included with it. And it seems to have got stuck somewhere. And I posted on X about it, and I've even had Parcel Force reach out to me. And they told me, and this is how much nonsense they post, they told me they're going to deliver it tonight. Yeah, right. Just to be clear, because I had someone post on my last video where I said, I've ordered it and it hasn't arrived yet, where I talked about the anti-gravity, where we did the FCC dive. He said he's complaining that he hasn't received it yet, even though he's getting it for free. I ain't fucking getting it for free. I've paid 1,400 quid for it. I am not part of the KOL. I was not sent one. They didn't ask me to. They never replied to my messages. They seem to have sent it to everyone else under the sun, although I don't think JB's got one. Does anyone know if JB has mentioned about having one? Because I would have thought they'd have sent JB one. Although he is niche FPV. He's the biggest in FPV, but he's niche in the sense of he's FPV centric only, you know, is JB. So perhaps he just didn't fall across their radar. But I think, did I not see that Albert Kim has got one? It's either Albert Kim or one of the others. I saw someone say they had one. All right, okay, yeah, look, no, he doesn't have it. Okay, so look, I've ordered it. So I guess it'll be tomorrow now, which is going to be a problem for me. I know Stu had one. That I knew about. I knew that in advance. That I knew about. And it makes sense because Stu, in many ways, Stu is a bit more mainstream than JB anyway. If you think about it. So But if it comes tomorrow, I'm not going to have much of a chance to play with it now until the new year. The truth is, I had a small gap this week that I could have used, but now I can't. But we will wait and see. Obviously, I have seen a lot of comments about the price on this, and I genuinely think there is a big misunderstanding about this product in the general drone world, because I have seen a lot of comments around people saying it's very expensive. It is and it isn't. Is it more money than a Neo or an Avata 2 with the goggles? Yes. But look, let's be clear here on a few things. This is not just like everything we've had. The goggles alone appear, and I haven't got them yet, but they appear to be light years ahead of what we have in even the DJI Goggles 3. I would label the DJI Goggles 3 a dumb goggle and the Antigravity a smart goggle. They're an AR goggle, in essence, with the wireless system built in. Pancake lenses. Overall, they appear to have much more processing. I don't know if you guys have seen the fact that you can fly an AR Dragon around with it. Look, there's a lot more going on in there than, say, the DJI Goggles 3. You know, even though the DJI Goggles 3 are very good, they are a dumb goggle. A real dumb... They don't do anything. Look, you can barely watch stuff on the DJI goggles with anything else. So, you know, there's a lot more going on in the anti-gravity goggle. Secondly, the drone is going to cost a lot more money because of the camera system. You know, you are doubling up on a lot of the hardware. I also find it interesting that anti-gravity appeared to be able to have put a camera on the front of the goggle that actually works, by the look of it. Black and white, but it works. I haven't seen anyone mention that it makes them horrifically sick, because if anyone has used the Goggles 3 camera in the stereo mode, it will literally make you horrifically ill. It is like a scene out of Hotel Paradiso, if anyone has used it, if you've seen that film. Honestly, it is... I don't know how they even thought, oh yeah, we're going to ship that. How that was even there. They may as well have just shipped them without that at all. Just said, no, we're not turning that on. It's just horrific. It really is. So look, the goggles are something different. The drone is going to cost more. I don't think the price is AR augmented reality. Yes, they are augmented reality. Yes. You can fly a drone. You can have it so it's like you're sitting on a dragon and you can fly around. All the menu system is augmented reality. It's all AR. It's all like a set of... it's basically like the Meta goggles in that respect. So it is going to cost more, and I don't think it's horrific when you look at it compared to the pricing of the more higher-end drones. That's for sure. I don't think it is terrible. Is it more? Yeah. Does it... You know, in the UK, the Fly More kit was £1,400. Okay, it's much more than an Avata 2 drone, but if you were to price like a Mini 5 Pro and a set of DJI goggles, you're not a million miles off that. You're really not. If I go in the UK and if I just go to a Mini 5 Pro and we're going to add that to the basket, right? So we're going to go, yes, we'll have one. No, we don't want that one. No, I want the Fly More kit. Sorry. Okay, let's do this one with the Fly More kit. I want that one. No, I don't want Key Refresh. No, 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 no. Continue with that cover. And then I want DJI Goggles 3 as an example. I know they don't work, but let's just do it as a comparison of what it comes in at. So just a Mini 5 with that comes in at £1,448. Get my head out of the way. That is the same price. So it really isn't expensive. That's literally the same price. as the Antigravity. So I don't get why people think this drone is expensive. You know, problem with the price is the end result, which is sub 1080p. Yeah, but that's 360 video. That's not the fault of the drone. That's the technology. What I think Antigravity do need to do ASAP is make a version of this with like the Ace Pro camera on the front. They need to get it out and go after DJI in the US now. Because in 17 days, as I released the video today, it's game over for new DJI products. And they have a real opportunity. And whilst I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I want to talk about it when it comes out, there are some real interesting things here. I have seen a lot of comments on they need to make an ear unit. No, they don't, because you already have an ear unit. It's that. Or at least it's similar to this, which we will talk about in a minute, because it's Artosyn. It's using the same chipset. So we don't need Insta to make an ear unit. What would be great if Insta made an ear unit with their cameras? That would be amazing. You know, look, it's the first time I've genuinely been excited that someone can bring it to DJI. And what I mean by that is this. It isn't that Insta... You know, look, as Lon mentioned something on a comment earlier, and he's right and he's wrong. And he's right, but he's missed the point. There are loads of people who have tried to beat DJI at this game. If you go back, 3DAR, you've got GoPro who failed, you've got Autel, you've got Sony tried to make a drone, you've got all of these other Chinese ones, the Potensic, Atom 2, all of this stuff. But the truth is this, none of them were really, other than GoPro, good at cameras in this segment. Sony can't enter a new industry for love nor money. Sony is really not good at low end either. But if you look at GoPro had the most chance and screwed it up. The big difference with Insta360 is they have a long history of delivering very good products in the segment they're in. They have a long history in the industry. They are Chinese, which helps. They have the manufacturing behind them, and they have a good customer base. For the first time, there is someone who really does have the potential to bring it to DJI. And when I look at the hardware in the report, everything here is looking good. This ain't like the Potensic Atom 2 that I saw, which is a great little drone, but it ain't this, right? It certainly ain't this. Actually, let me just open it up in Chrome, because Chrome gives me the better view. The Potensic ain't this. The hardware in here is, I'm not going to say top notch, but it is what you would choose if you wanted to do it and you weren't DJI. It's, you know, everything they have chosen here makes sense. U-Block's M10 GPS, the typical motor drivers, not cheap end ones. You've got M10 GPS, U-Block's good size antenna. So that all looks good. You've then got, under the main CPU, let's just get down to it, you've got the Umbrella CV5. That is the same chip they are using in the X5, but it is the best alternative on the market. Umbrella are like one of the #1 chipsets for action cameras in the market. It is the right choice. DJI still use Umbrella themselves today in some of their products. They used Umbrella in all of their other products in the past before they moved to doing it in-house. And in-house didn't necessarily make it better for them. I think it probably made it cheaper for them. And don't forget, DJI made a concise move in the last few years to try and bring all components in-house. It's not just the chipset. They wanted everything in-house, likely due to the regulations. You've got this Sunrise 5, which I didn't know about before, but this is quite a powerful vision processor. Never heard of it, but it's very good. And they've chosen the only video processing, image processing chipset they could have chose, which is the Artosyn. They've gone with the Artosyn chipset because there is no other good choice. So everything here, from a component choice perspective, is as good as they could have chosen. And that is the best you can say for a competitor. I can't say that about Autel. You go and look at what Autel do. There are some compromises in their drones as far as I can see. They don't seem to get it quite over the line as much as these did. So that, you know, it's as good a chance as any. And the fact is, it's now or never, because in 17 days, it is very likely that there will be a gap in the US market. And Insta360 is not on a ban list. They're Chinese, but they're not on a ban list. So it's an opportunity. If they put out a Mini 5 style drone, ignore the others a minute, just get a Mini 5 style version of that with the Ace Pro camera on it, they will get them into Best Buy, get them into Amazon. They will sell it. They will absolutely sell it. So, look, really exciting. It is genuinely a really exciting time. What I am looking forward to is how it flies and the AR experience. I know some people with it. There are compromises. There are issues. It isn't perfect. I think they've made a mistake with the flight controls. It's like they've tried to be different on purpose, which I think is a mistake, and they need to release a remote version ASAP. It works basically like DJI's remote works. The remote communicates with the goggles communicate with the drone, so it's the same situation back and forth. But yeah, look, it's very, very interesting, and I'm really intrigued of what the 360 through the goggles looks like. 360 on a drone I'm less worried about. What I'm interested in is, you know, we can have looking around today with a pan and tilt gimbal. But this is different. This is very, very different. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It also helps into that DJI will outbid the US market. It will. And look, no one is top dog forever. Companies like Nokia used to be, and they're not. I do not wish any harm for DJI, but frankly, they need their asses kicking a little bit. And a good competitor is good for everyone. No one should think, oh, this is bad. There is nothing here but good for the drone industry. Someone bringing it to DJI, because Autel aren't doing it. Autel are just not doing it. And whilst I have said in the past, I think they've overdone it on the goggles a little bit, I actually now am a bit more excited about what the options are. I want to see what a set of pancake lenses looks like in a set of FPV goggles. Just look at the displays on these goggles. For those who haven't seen, you know, just the goggles alone. Ignore the drone, right? The drone is pretty much a muchness. It is literally like a Mini 5 with a 360 camera on it, okay? Other than the smart stuff. The real interesting stuff, okay, image transmission is interesting. OmniLink Artosyn. It says live view quality is 2.7K, 30 frames a second. So it says they are streaming 2.7K. That is insane. For starters, just take that into account. 30 megabits a second. Okay, not quite DJI, but good. But just get to these goggles, because when you start looking at the goggles, right? So it's got 4x3 displays with a resolution of 2560 by 2560. That is dramatically more resolution than you're getting on any of the other FPV goggles. 72 Hz refresh rate. Okay, not 100, but it's not 60. Pancake optical display lenses. You know, micro OLED, 1-inch display. That's a huge display. I don't think people realise how small the displays are in our FPV goggles. I have a broken display here from the Cadex goggles. For those who remember, I did the tear down on the goggles. What is the size on the displays? I think it is like 0.35 of an inch. It is tiny. These are huge. Is it a single screen or is it dual screen, by the way? I don't know. Is it a... I've been thinking, is it dual displays? It's a single display at 1 inch then, is it? Or is it dual displays? I don't actually know. It has to be dual, doesn't it? Yeah, it has to be dual. It must be they're just showing it as single displays. One per eye. Yeah, it has to be. But that alone, that is leagues ahead. Leagues and leagues ahead of anything we have today in FPV. So when people are talking about, oh, it's expensive, the devil is in the detail. The devil is in the detail. These are proper VR displays, as someone has just said. Yeah, this, and I don't think this has really been promoted well from the drone side. I don't really think the drone guys and all of these channels have talked about these products. No one has really gone, this is a dumb goggle and this is a smart VR. It is basic, as you rightly say, it's basically a VR headset. What is the specs on the top Meta headset? They gave this drone to any influencer, but the right ones. Quest 3 in it. The top one's the Quest 3. What's the specs? It's higher resolution than the Quest 3. It's not the same refresh rate, but it's higher resolution than the Quest 3. I don't know how it's... Look, I've seen reviews of how it is looking round, but look, yeah, more than anything, I just wanted to really stress that this really isn't quite what it seems. Yeah, 150 milliseconds is pretty much... Look, most DJI drones are about 100 milliseconds. 04 on like a Mini 5 is about 100 milliseconds. Remember, this isn't FPV drone territory. And it's 30 frames a second, so you've got to take that into account. So, remember, this isn't your Bando Bash in FPV. So, this, those numbers are pretty normal, what you would get on a DJI drone on a set of goggles. It's certainly not terrible, that's for sure. So look, I'm actually really excited to try it because I do think that's the screen recording. Oh, the screen recording 30 frames a second. Good point. Sorry, that's a good point. Refresh rate 72 hertz. Yeah. I don't know how they got OLEDs to work with pancake lenses because you thought they weren't bright enough. Yeah, I know that. I've seen people say that. That's why. That is exactly apparently why Steam have gone with. They've said they've gone with LCDs on the new Steam headset. So I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Do remember, though, here's probably one big difference. I wonder what these goggles will be like in low light from a footage perspective. You're flying. You're in good light all of the time, generally with a drone. So they might be banking on the displays giving good performance with that. I'm guessing. So look, really exciting times. Really, really exciting times. Right, before we move forward, I need to just say a big thank you because someone sent a super chat after I whinged. And it's vanished, but I need to find it. Where's it gone? It's at 73 FPV, $10. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. Screw the haters, he said. Yeah, tell me about it. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Right, next we need to talk about, and it leads on from this, and it is digital FPV. Because this week I have had in this, you can see that's there for a reason, because I've been poking at the UARTs just to have a look at what's going on. And when I say poking at the UARTs on this, the Cardex Ascent VTXs, my pair finally turned up this week. I ordered them. This is obviously the standalone version of the Ascent VTX. There you go. This is the one you can now buy. So I'm starting to do my testing on it. I've done all the bench testing, and as you can see, that sort of stuff I do there in the background. Overall, everything is basically the same. It's basically the same VTX as in the Protoss. There is already actually a very nice video on this from one of the, I think he's actually one of the testers. So I do just want to be fair in saying that. I think he's one of the testers, but look, just remember, this is a $35.99 VTX. And it is from Bonafide Pirate. I'm 90% he's one of the testers. And he's put out just a nice video of this VTX on a wing, just testing it. And you can see here, please do consider checking out his video. I know I've mentioned him before on the channel. He shows the setup. He has it fitted with a proper antenna as well, which is nice to see. It's not the antenna that comes with it. He's got it mounted on a proper lollipop style antenna, which is good. The Walksnail ones, which he's going to give. They're not the greatest antennas, but at least it should offer some good performance compared to that thing.
So it came in the box.
But and he takes it out on his wing, as you can see here, and then he does a bit of a range test, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
In the goggles.
Some interesting observations is
these do have circular polarized
and let me just go out to the flight footage. He gets out to just 2.4 kilometers before it loses signal. Okay, so I'm going to stress that. He doesn't get that much range, although I'm not particularly shocked or disappointed in those numbers. 100 milliwatts is not a lot on these VTXs, and in my previous experience, more power helps a lot with Artosyn-based systems. So it almost struggles at lower power levels. You get a VTX, yes, miles. No, yeah, that's 1.4 miles. He gets to 2.4 in a minute. You'll see it. The previous Artosyn systems do struggle with lower power levels. So I'm not particularly worried. What is interesting, though, is, and I'll show you some of the footage, I really like the low signal behavior on this new VTX.
There's a couple of elements.
You can see here in a wing, it's in normal mode. One observation I'm going to make, even at this altitude, in this light, this camera or system is noisy as hell. It is really, really noisy at all times. And I did note this in my Ascent talking. I don't know if it's the camera or the system. There's so much noise in the image, and you can see it, and it's almost like a fuzz in the image.
OSD, because like I said, I just kind of quickly changed it over from the old analog setup to HD.
Oh, the video's running. Sorry, there you go. I do really like the low signal behavior. This focus mode works for starters, but it's more than that. When you see him get to the edge of signal, it only becomes unflyable just as it loses. Like if you see here, that's more than flyable. You've got image. You wouldn't want to fly a quad in a gap through that, but from a plane perspective, that's pretty good. It's fine. Not a problem at all. If I just push along, it gets to 2.1 and then 2.2 miles. And actually, look, it suddenly livens up at 3.1 megabits again, and then it falls off a cliff very quickly. And he gets to 2.4, I think it is. And then you will see it's only really as it goes unviewable, it drops. You can start to see it stuttered then and came back. And then you'll start to see there, and then there's a point now where there it goes and it's gone. Gone. So it literally is that point. DJI have a focus mode already, but DJI don't really feel like they need it now. What I do like, though, is how well it holds on at very low megabits. I like the RF performance. I don't particularly like the range, but I like this. And I said this in my initial video. This, I think, yeah, it's okay. I can't see the stutters here. I'm going to have to try it on a quad because it was so bad when my original Protoss with stutters. It was unflyable. But, and look, we're estimating that is the bit rate. We don't know if what Cadex are telling us is correct. The truth is we don't know. I think from a wing perspective, look, we're going to test what the stuttering is like because you're not going to see it here in a wing. It's moving around, so you're not going to feel the stutters. You're not going to see the stutters. But I am overall, but man, is that camera image noisy? It does lack detail. It really does lack detail at this point. Looks okay here as he's coming in. I'm not sure why was the bit. Mind. It is worth taking into account. See, the Ascent goggles, remember, only has 2 antennas, very directional. So if he comes in from the side on it, I'm not sure where he is. Like, is he? Where is he? Is that him? Yeah, he's there. He shouldn't have lost signal there. So he was coming in at the front. Why was it losing signal then as he was coming in to himself? Like here, he is there. Maybe behind the trees? Maybe? But that shouldn't have caused a problem there. That's weird. See how it's jumped up? There are weird things with it. See, watch that bit right now. 998865214.4. Look, he's there. Why has that dropped off so much at that point? That is really weird. And then as soon as it comes back behind that tree, boom, it jumps back up to 9, 10, 11, 13 as he comes into land. Oh, what a lovely landing strip. What a lovely place to fly. Could be there's something a bit quirky about that. I don't really understand. Yeah, but there shouldn't have been that much attenuation from those trees. Not really from those bushes. If you look at that there as he's coming down, right, the attenuate, look, there is no depth to those trees. And we know the antenna is right on the front of the aircraft. Bit weird. Bit weird. You know, look, there's no... I wouldn't call that heavy. Weird. Bit of weird. But look, he's got a great video on it. And yeah, look, so the VTX is interesting. I'm going to start my testing now. I have, just so everyone knows, yesterday I found some time to finally upload everything onto FPV Wiki. So if you want the teardown images from the Ascent goggles, the teardown images from the Protoss, although I need to find a couple of the drone ones because I'm missing a few. Everything is now on FPV Wiki. If you go under Cadex Walksnail, there's now a new section for Ascent. So Walksnail Ascent, as it is called. You have Ascent FPV goggles. So we have the full talk on the goggles where I've written everything up. Cadex's spec, I talk about the built-in antennas, head tracking, the latency. And you also have the specs, the teardown images internally, as well as my repair video info and what we had to do to repair the goggles. All of that is listed there. You've got then the Protoss drone where we have the specs, and then the internal VTX on the Protoss drone. And then we also then have the Ascent Lite VTX as a standalone with all the latency testing, the video info, and then the images down at the bottom. I've even now written up something on Artosyn, which I will talk about specifically in a minute, because this is a very interesting subject, because this isn't the only FPV system that appears to be using this chipset. There now seems to be a big proliferation of Artosyn in FPV. But we'll talk about that in a second. But all of this is now up there, and I'll continue to add it as we move through. And I'm looking forward to testing it properly. I still don't recommend Cadex products as their brand, but I still fully intend to test them and give my opinion on the product itself. But again, I still don't recommend the brand simply as a result of their behavior. Pricing on this is insane, $35.99. I don't know if that can stand forever, but let's see. Let's just wait and see. I thought multipathing is not a thing on two-way systems. Multipathing is not a thing on MIMO or MIMO systems, multi in, multi out. Good uranium tree. Yeah, well, look, so a good point there. Someone said they're putting OpenIPC in a real tough spot with this. Yes, I have heard rumours that Runcam have ended production of their OpenIPC hardware. JB said two things very interesting tonight on his stream. He was talking to Cadex, apparently, and they were very worried about OpenIPC. Or he'd heard, sorry, no, he wasn't talking to them. He had heard Cadex were very worried about OpenIPC. And I mentioned this on his stream that I wonder if it's less, well, Cadex might be worried, but I wonder if the FPV brands have been able to talk to Artosyn and say, if you don't do something, the low-end market is going to be taken away by these low-cost Wi-Fi based systems. The thing to take into account, OpenIPC itself isn't particularly special. You've got to separate down to what OpenIPC is. Because remember, and this is where OpenIPC can't have his cake and eat it. OpenIPC has said, we're not just OpenIPC, it's OpenIPC and WFBNG, it's OpenIPC and A-Link, etc. OpenIPC is the camera firmware. So OpenIPC is designed, the project replaces the firmware on cheap CCTV-based action cameras. So the SoC that comes on the back, which is generally Sigma Star or Grok or a couple of others, they all have closed firmware. OpenIPC is designed to allow you to take that camera and flash it with OpenIPC firmware. Then the extension of OpenIPC is to allow FPV, which is what WFBNG does. WFBNG handles the RF side of it. What actually has allowed all of this, though, not all of it, but some of it, I should say, is the modified Wi-Fi driver that allows you to take a traditional Wi-Fi adapter based on some of the Realtek ones and modify its behavior. Remember, a Wi-Fi chip is fixed function. So you have the hardware level, you have the software level. You cannot change the hardware. You can't turn it into an SDR. It isn't an SDR. It is fixed function, it has fixed bandwidth modes, it has fixed specific options, but the modified driver allows you to try and take it out of what it's been programmed to do and push it to behave in a slightly different way. And that's the simpler way for me to label it. I have a full video on this if you're interested in seeing that and what it does, what it actually is about at the PHY level. However, the basics are the modified driver is the interesting bit from an RF perspective. And if you look at this, if you're Artosyn, we know Wi-Fi wasn't good enough for what some of this stuff does. So no one was using Wi-Fi. It's good enough for around the garden, but it isn't good enough for this. So you then had to go a custom solution. But if there was a modified Wi-Fi driver that allowed you to take off-the-shelf chipsets and use those Wi-Fi chipsets to get a good FPV system like this, it does put Artosyn in a difficult position, because what they're selling is chipsets that do this. And it definitely appears that Artosyn are working with a lot more companies. They have always worked with multiple drone companies. The Potensic Atom 2, there's a Xiaomi drone that's used it. There's Artosyn in a couple of others in the past. They've been in Autel. They've been in GDI or GDC, I think it is, Junus mentioned. Artosyn has been in a number of drones. It isn't unusual for Artosyn to turn up in other drones. And in fact, Artosyn is in this. The anti-gravity. You can't see it because I haven't got it. It's in this. It's using anti-gravity. Hold on. OpenHD was using these before. Yes, but OpenIPC took a lot more marketing and a lot more interest than OpenHD ever has. Whether that's a failure of the OpenHD project is down to people to decide. OpenIPC got a lot more interesting, a lot more people interested than OpenHD did. And look, I've been the biggest critic of OpenIPC, period. And you know this, and I've still told you it ain't fit for purpose yet. It ain't ready yet. It's not good enough yet. But it still took all of the marketing headlines. And I do wonder if enough of this noise has now got to Artosyn, and now they've had to go, well, we are either going to do something or we're not. Add on top of that, we already know Artosyn are refocusing on the drone industry. They actually put an interview out about 4 months ago, I think it was, where they specifically spoke about refocusing on the drone industry, having lost their partnership with DJI in the past. You have to remember, Artosyn worked with DJI on Lightbridge for a long time. Then DJI dumped them for OcuSync. Artosyn went off and put all their time into AI chipsets, and now they're circling back around to FPV. And they actually talk about this in the article, how all of this panned out. What this all means is you have Cadex using this chipset. It is here. You can see it here. If I click on this, there it is, the Artosyn chipset. We've already seen that in the anti-gravity drone. There it is. You can see it there. Same chipset. Oh, God, sorry. So we got it there. The V3, they labelled it here. It's actually labelled V2 on the other VTX. And then you have the V3. But also, we know of at least one other FPV system coming, because JB leaked, announced, whichever way we want to talk about it tonight. That Beta FPV are releasing an Artosyn-based product. I would largely expect it to be based around this as well. But we also have a new product from STARTRC, which, whilst isn't confirmed, really does look like Artosyn. We don't have 100% confirmation yet, but what I have done is counted the pins on that chipset, and it matches for pin out. That doesn't mean it is it, but it does match for pin out. And I am highly suspicious this will also be Artosyn based as well. So there is another FPV kit that is entering the market. And this hasn't got a goggle. This has got a VRX module. And then there's said to be one coming from Beta FPV as well. So we are seeing a proliferation of Artosyn now appearing in FPV. Someone has asked, if all of these systems use Artosyn, can we mix and match VTX? Unfortunately not. I think there is no chance any of them will be compatible. They will all have their own basic system. But what that potentially means is there are 4 Artosyn-based FPV systems, 3 of them looking like they are based on the newer chipset, which is the AR8030 series. And yeah, there's a lot going on. This is obviously dearer than the other kit. I think this is priced about $150. I've seen this at right now. In some ways, I do wonder if Cadex have had a handle in this, because that VTX does look very Cadex-ishy. When you look at that connector, Cadex used that connector on their early VTXs. But yeah, we are seeing a proliferation. And look, I'm tracking this. I've also started to put an article together on more stuff about Artosyn. Here you can see the chipset in various uses. So this was it in the Potentic Atom 2. This is it in the Antigravity A1, the Cadex ProSource Ascent VTX, the Cadex Ascent VTX Lite. So we're starting to come out with different... They have slightly different labeling, but don't worry about that. That's fact. We believe it's all the same chipset. But yeah, you're starting to see it appear in many, many different things. So look, it is incredibly interesting times. So far, though, all of these are... in the FPV systems appear to be low end. 60 frames a second max. None of these have got low latency modes. But let's wait and see. Let's just wait and see where all of this ends up, because we just don't know. Why is the Protoss Ascent version 2, it says V2 and thing VT? I wouldn't read into it. It's probably a batch thing. Artosyn don't actually, as we understand it, sell the chipsets themselves. That they give you permission to have them made. We don't believe any of the labeling on here is anything but batch differences. We do know that there are variants of the 8030, so they could have some small differences, or they might not. The truth is we don't know. What I do know is in the Potentic Atom 2, it only has 2 antenna lanes connected. In this VTX, we only have 1 antenna lane, although in the goggles we have 2. In the Antigravity A1, in the drone, we have 4 antenna lanes. So on the Antigravity, you can see it has 4 separate antenna inputs. In the goggles have 6 antennas, but I don't have images of the goggles yet. So I can't tell you if all 6 are wired to the chipset. It is possible these are slight variants, or it is possible just marking differences in production. We will never know. I'd even say, and I said this on Discord today, DJI even label the S2 differently in different products. Depending on what products you look at the S2 in, it's labeled differently as well. Yet it's the same chipset. If we go on here, I think I can even show you. If I go on here, DJI products. So if we look at the goggles N3, I think if I look at the N3 first, if I show you the S2, see, okay. So if you look at the S2 here is labeled that. And then if I go in the Avata 2, so even DJI do this. So there we go. So that is the S2 in the DJI Avata 2. And that is the S2 in the goggles N3. It's the same chipset. DJI just changed some of the labeling. Although V2.0R1 is the same. But a lot of the numbers change depending on the production and stuff. So, look, I wouldn't really read much into it. DJI seem to have moved away from labeling it S2. In all the later products, it's labeled more like this. So, yeah, I'm not particularly worried. I hope it'll take down the price of DJI. These companies are building up to take over DJI's upcoming void in the US. Maybe part of it, but I also think you're starting to just to see a general push by Artosyn as well. We'll come on to DJI in a minute. We're going to come on to DJI in a minute specifically. There are no FCC filings for the goggles. They are there, but we don't have teardown images. So, this file isn't in the public domain yet. It's not for me to share it. Very basics are no one should have access to that file. It was acquired because they basically forgot to set the publishing correct, and then they corrected it very quickly. I don't believe there was a download done of the goggles, unfortunately. We have the drone, but not the goggles. But this file isn't even available online anymore. It's under embargo until, I think it's April next year. So I can tell you already, Antigravity Insta360 will be absolutely livid that I have shown this, because this shouldn't even be in the public domain. I was even told... People were specifically told for the reviews not to tear the drone down. So that's the reason they didn't send it to me. Because, and I would have not torn it down. Here is the truth. If Antigravity had said, hey, we want to send you this to review, but you can't take it apart and you can't share images online of the one pre-embargo, I'd agreed to that, and I wouldn't have torn down the drone they sent me. Notice the wording I've used there. I'd have still ordered one, and we'd have torn that one down after release. But I would have absolutely agreed if they'd have said, we want to send you under review, but you're not allowed to tear it down and show images online. I would have agreed to that. Here's the truth. Cadex never actually told me I couldn't tear the products down I was sent, hence the reason I did it. No, if a brand doesn't say to me, you can't take it apart, I'm going to take it apart. But if they did say to me, we're going to send you this to review, but you're not allowed to take it apart and share images, I would probably agree to that. It's a fair requirement. I just then have to find another way of doing it. You know, it's that simple. You know, I'm not an asshole. You know, it's well, I am, but yeah. So look, it's exciting times. It is exciting times. Right. Before we get on to ExpressLRS and a couple of other things, I just want to talk about DJI. So, two things. I put a big video out today on DJI. For those who haven't seen, I wanted to put out what I felt was the fairest overview of the current FCC situation. I wanted to put out something that I didn't call everyone a bunch of dickheads in it, because they're talking about stuff that they shouldn't be saying. And when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about this video here, which is the facts, and no one's got absolute facts. But I wanted to try and put out exactly what we know and what's the truth and what will possibly happen and what won't. If you want, right now, it's 95% they will be restricted for any future FCC. And look, we've got to stop using ban, and I did that on purpose in that. I have to use the ban for algorithm because it won't get picked up. But the truth is, we shouldn't be using the word yeah, look, there's a lot of politics that are happening, but I think what people have to understand, this has been boiling for years. As I've said, I've been around this industry a long time. It's easy to blame Skydio and Unusual Machines and others. Have they helped get it to where it is today? Yeah, but this was bubbling along a long time ago. DJI employed Brendan Shulman specifically as their policy expert to drive drone policy and try to head off this crap. Remember that. This is a long time coming. So right now, look, I think it is 95% yes. As I said in the video, I think the only downside is you might see, or not a downside, but you might see a kick into the grass for 6 months. But genuinely, I hope that doesn't happen. It either needs to happen or it goes away forever. What I hope doesn't happen is that you see like a kick into the long grass for 6 months and then we're back around again. It either needs to be it's happened, move on, or it's gone away forever. And I don't want it to happen. Let me just be clear. I do not want it to happen. I am incredibly intrigued. There's like a little percentage of me that wants it to happen because I just want to see the fallout. I want to see what it looks like. I wish we could have a look at the future and see where it goes. I'm intrigued what would happen. It's that simple. I am intrigued about, well, what would actually happen if this happens. But I don't really want it to happen, if you get my meaning. It's like, I don't want to crash my car into that tree, but I wonder what it would be like. Do you ever get that when you're driving? Do you ever get it when you're driving down the road and you see like a massive wall and you go, I really don't want to crash into that, but I wonder what it would be like. I don't know, is that just me? It could be. You know, I see that cliff, and I really don't know what it would be like. But what would the be like? And that's sort of where I am at with it. You sort of go, well, I wonder what would happen. But yeah, you know, it's just how loud those thoughts get out there. But yeah, you know, it's I am intrigued to see. I am intrigued to see what would happen with it. But I do genuinely hope if it gets moved, it needs to end. We cannot have this another 6 months. We cannot have this on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Obviously, then you have the situation with DJI O4E units, and O4 Pro especially has been in very short supply. We truthfully don't know the reason. What is intriguing is also the module for the Neo 2 is in short supply as well. I actually wonder if DJI has some supply issues on the S2 chipset, and that is what's driving O4 Pro. It is possible they just sold out and they haven't run production. DJI are not going to be behaving the same today as they are in normal operation, because I wouldn't be shocked if they're cutting back staff, cutting back production. They're going to have to save some money. And they probably already are saving money, because remember, you can't buy them anyway right now. So I think I wouldn't read into much of that. There are lots of, someone's just said, and I was coming on to that in a minute, there are lots of supply in the chip world. Silicon, freaking everything is in short supply. So it can cause problems. Flywheel are starting to list DJI O4E units, but this isn't the third-party listing like we've seen from Skydroid and others making third-party DJI Air units. These are DJI Air units. If you look at them, they're not even trying to hide the fact it's DJI O4. If you just go on it and search for DJI O4 Pro, they are selling it. Now, they are reboxing it, and that isn't particularly surprising, because these guys will be buying them from DJI in trays. So the likes of iFlight, Flywoo and others, they're not buying the air units from DJI for their bind and fly drones in nice pretty boxes. They will be getting them in trays. That's how it works. It'll be like a set of OEM CPUs. You know, it'll just be... No, iFlight isn't DJI. You're mixing up the name iFlight Technology with iFlight. Yes, DJI has a company called iFlight Technology. It is not the same company. We have been through this 100 times before. But they'll be buying them in trays like CPUs. You know, if you've ever seen a tray of CPU, you know, oh, that didn't work. You know, when manufacturers buy CPUs, they come in these big trays like this. You know, how would you like your chip in a tray? And this is how they'll be getting the O4E units. They'll be getting them in trays like this that they can sell out into their drones. So what you likely is, you can see they label it as O4. You know, they've even got a picture of the O4 box. It's still labeled DJI. I have heard someone say there are O4 Pro Air units turning up without the DJI logo on it, but I haven't seen any absolute evidence of this. If you were to see DJI do this, though, look, is it likely that DJI, if the ban happens... Remember, if the ban happens... It only affects newly registered products initially. If they withdraw certification, that's different. But it only affects new certification. So DJI can still ship in the O4s if they can get it past imports. But yeah, this just looks like iFlight have bought... not iFlight, sorry. Flywoo have bought a huge tray of O4s and they've decided to sell them. And as a result... and yeah, it's as simple as that. They are around, but there does seem to be a shortage of O4 Pros, especially. The pricing is good, 160, 186. Might pre-order. Could be a new lower price as well. Yeah, look, Flywoo are doing a good job right now. You really can't knock Flywoo. They really, really are doing a very, very good job. Just catching up on the chat. Someone said it was a sticker over the bottom of the ear units. Also not being abusive about the pricing. Yeah, Flywoo, look, I think Flywoo have turned into one of the very good companies. If you like, I don't work with Beta FPV. I don't know. I don't really hear from them anymore. I'm going to send them a message later. They haven't been happy with me after I did a review on something, but hey, what can you do? I always tell the truth on this channel. Beta FPV have always been sketchy to me compared. Flywoo have really stepped up. Really stepped up. Really, in the last year. Yeah, look, the Flywoo camera modification is good. I've got it here. I'm just waiting for the weather to turn to be able to test it. So look, that's where we're at with DJI. We're just going to have to wait and see. Stock is all over the place. I wouldn't read into it too much other than stock's all over the place. Couldn't buy an O4 anywhere in Shenzhen last month online. They sell a transparent body Mavic 4 there. Wow. Where's my anti-gravity? Fucking ass parcel force. Coventry, when I checked last. Stuck in bloody Coventry. It's gone to the Coventry depot and it hasn't moved since. Fucking 2 days it's been stuck in Coventry. I can't see it, find my phone, but my phone has vanished. Might have actually left it down the house, have I? So, yeah, look. What do I think of the Jumper Bumblebee? I can't comment. I haven't tried it. I wasn't sent it to review, so I can't comment. I was meaning to order one in. I still think the PA01 is a better radio because it's H7 based. We're going to come on to ExpressLRS 4.0 in a minute. One last thing, whilst we're on digital VTXs, is obviously for those who have been around the computer industry this week, you might have seen a little bit of news. And that news is that Micron, who make Crucial RAM, and I'm going to put this up from The Verge, are ending their consumer memory business. Now, what this means is Crucial RAM, the brand, will no longer exist. What this means is that for people wanting to buy RAM for their computers, there is one less brand in the market, which is a problem. Although it is worth stressing, Micron, who is the manufacturer of the RAM, owns Crucial, the retail brand. They are ending the retail brand to focus on AI. What isn't clear, though, is really what that means, because Crucial was the brand, but Micron also sold chips out to other RAM manufacturers to make RAM. And you might be wondering why I'm talking about this here. Well, let me just show you something, because there is something that you do need to be aware of when it comes to things like RAM. And remember, I was talking about the company who makes the RAM is Micron. If we go down in the anti-gravity, all the way down to the main board, we're getting there, sorry. At the bottom, notice what is on the bottom of this board. Yes, there are 2 Micron RAM modules. And the reason I'm bringing this up is not really, but most digital VTXs are flying Linux computers. Whether that be DJI O3, the original FPV system, O4, or a Cadex Walksnail. And as a result of that, it all has an effect. And there is a very real possibility that all of this is going to filter down and affect us in drones as well. And just to show you what I mean on this, if you look inside this, the DJI Avata 2, we go onto the main PCB. Here you will see, oh look, what's this over here? It's a CXMT RAM chip. If you don't know who CXMT are, they're a Chinese DDR manufacturer. They make RAM. Pretty much everything we buy, look over here, there's a NAND. Oh, it's under my head. There's a NAND chip there as well. If we go in to DJI O4, you will also find that there is NAND and there is RAM on board these air units as well. What is interesting is the new Ascent stuff doesn't have it because it's all on board the main chipsets. They're quite low capability. But remember, these cheap VTXs don't have DVR on board. They're not recording. So whilst the Ascent Lite looks nice, and we've probably got this new one from Beta FPV, that's nice, and you've got this new one probably from STARTRC, that's nice, these aren't DVRs. Anything that's out of a DVR has both DDR on board for the main chipset, and you have NAND on the back for storage. Now, to be fair, DJI mostly use CXMT, which is a Chinese manufacturer. These are LPDDR4, and it's mostly LPDDR4 in most things, but it isn't even unique to DJI. It is also in Cadex as well. HD0 is fine, I will add. But if we go into Avatar, even if we look inside the Moonlight, Oh, look, what do you see? You have Giga Drive on that board there. And there's a combined RAM NAND storage on the bottom of Avatar HD as well. So again, we are likely, potentially also going to be affected by this, whilst not directly, because Micron, for most air units, are not used. They are used in consumer drones. They are used in action cameras. Even the Osmo 360 has memory on board. I can't remember what DJI was using in the Osmo 360, but I can tell you now, Insta360 are using Micron. So we are going to see a filtered down effect of this to us. There is already a shortage of wafers. There is then the fact that Micron is going to put all their RAM to AI. If you haven't seen the price of RAM, just to give you an idea, I ordered a stick for 86 quid a couple of weeks ago. If I go on scan computers, I'm actually returning some stuff to scan. I don't know. There's part of me that thinks I should just hold on to this. But if I go on to hardware, let me just take this off the screen a minute. Because if I take this off the screen a minute, I can find the part number and show you. Just to show you this, because this is mental when you look at it. And I mean this is mental. Right. So this stick of RAM, I had paid $85.49 for. So I had paid $85.49 for this 1 gig 16 stick, one stick of 16 gig DDR5. I had paid 85, I think it was 49, whatever I said. It was 86, just under 86 quid. A week later, it was 165 quid. 1 week later, it had doubled in price. So it is a very real problem, and this could affect us here as well. So just take into account DJI and CADX could go up. It won't affect HD0, although it could affect the HD0 goggles. Just to confirm, what has Carl got in the HD0 goggles? Let's just have a quick look. I can't remember. Yeah, he's got stuff by, yeah. SK Hynix, yeah. HD0 goggles could be affected. SK Hynix. This is going to affect an awful lot. Basically, most of our digital FPV systems are flying Linux computers. Our goggles, our VTXs are flying Linux computers. The only reason, DDR3, DDR4, but it all scales down. Most of them are DDR4. DDR3, DDR4, but it still scales down. Because the problem now is production is going through the roof on everything. So just be aware. Allegedly, Samsung and SK Hynix haven't been selling off their old litho machines either. Yeah. Well, it's back to drinking. It's cheaper. Yeah, yeah. Well, you're gonna find people dealing RAM like you know. Hey mate, I got some DDR4 here for you. Is what you're gonna get. But yeah, basically these VTXs are flying computers. The only reason the likes of the Ascent VTX doesn't have RAM is because it's basically using an all-in-one chipset that has RAM on board. That's fixed function. You know, the chipsets being used in Ascent, as an example, are very fixed function and they don't require external memory. They have enough memory on board to do their fixed function task. So that's why you're not seeing external RAM modules. But that affects them from a DVR perspective. If you're building a DVR, you need external RAM. Makes you think, what if they just stop making... Oh, yeah, RAM's crazy. If you ever watch, it's a great video on the history of DRAM, on Asianometry, and you go through, you know, the times that, you know, Intel pulled out of the DRAM. Intel was the world's biggest RAM manufacturer at one point. I don't know if you guys know this. Intel was #1 in the world, and they pulled out of it completely. DRAM market has collapsed, bubbled about 10 times. And every time there's been a bubble and collapse, it's got smaller. And what I mean by that is the number of participants have got smaller. You know, we were down to basically 3. SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron is what we're down to. And then you've got the Chinese company, CXMT, I think it is. But they're on a massive push. And this is where we could face problems. Is because they're on a massive push to try and produce DDR5 for AI. They don't quite have the technology yet, but what that means is they're not going to want to make DDR4 and others. Remember, the bare piece of silicon you start with is the same. And that's the problem. Apple RAM upgrades are more reasonable now. Apple's RAM upgrades look out and out, not just reasonable, but a bargain today. Yeah, funny you say that. I tell you whose RAM upgrades aren't a bargain. It's fucking Meta's on the Quest 5S. That is an absolute joke. If you've seen the price of the Quest S5S. Sorry, not 5S, Quest 3S. This is an absolute joke. When you go shop, oh, go away. Shop Meta Quest 3, look how much they want for RAM. So it's 289 or 379. 90 quid for 128 gig of storage. And this is eMMC. This isn't RAM. This is NAND. That is a joke. That is an absolute joke. They're charging you 80 quid to upgrade for 128 gig. Does anyone know here, does the Quest 3 have external storage? Can you put an SD card in the 3S and put games on the SD card? NAND is also going up. Yeah. I don't know if you can. Genuinely don't know on the 3S. What's the 3S like? Can anyone give me an opinion? I just need to know for present purposes. If anyone's got one, what's it like compared to the 2? I bet you it's a cheap eMMC on them as well. The 3 is better than the 3S. Yeah, I expected that, but the price. Problem is, you can't get handsets for the 2. I don't know if you know this. You know the ringed handsets. They're basically unfixable, unfindable, because my son has smashed his to bits. And I mean smashed them to bits. I've rebuilt them twice from Chinese parts. So, I'm guessing they're not pancake lenses on the 3S, are they? No. I'll probably buy my first personal VR headset, which isn't what comes with the drone, when the Steam comes out. I'm probably going to go for that. Oh, cool. Okay, UAV. I'll have a look. Right. Losing track. So we've got through DJI, we've got through NAND, we've got through all of that. Time to talk about ExpressLRS, because they have quietly, and I say quietly, but it is quietly, they have quietly pushed out ExpressLRS 4.0 RC1. Now this is a major set of updates over the previous version, and there's a lot in here, and I want to say a big thank you to Wes for winding something in that I whinged at him about. I whinged at Wes about adding a feature which was quite minor, but I think it's a great thing they've done here, and I'll explain why in a minute. But yeah, look, there is so much in this. I think they might need to reword one or two things, which I'll talk about in a minute. But look, there's some massive step forwards. Highlights include automatic antenna modes, stop babysitting your receiver antenna modes, updated TXRX syncing now automatically selects between true diversity and Gemini modes based on transmitter settings, so you don't have to. If you connect a single RF chip receiver, the transmitter will automatically step down from Gemini mode to antenna switch mode. So it's going to do it based on the receiver detected. Options to alternative arming method, so you no longer have to use, let's just read this, I haven't read this myself, doesn't use channel 5 to communicate. So you can use channel 5 as a regular channel. Arming is performed by user selective sources, including physical or logical switches. Anything EdgeTX offers. So in theory, I could manage this, and I could set on the TX15 or the PA01 arming to the built-in gyro sensor, so when I move the radio down it's armed, and when I move the radio up it's disarmed. That couldn't go wrong at all, could it? But yeah, that's the example I'm talking about. Very cool. Very cool. That's a nice change. Risky. Pre-arm is necessary. Due to this change, future modes no longer skip channel 5. Previously, 8 channels or 12 channels mode would generate 9 and 13 channels respectively, but now generate the exact number of channels specified. Because I guess then 8 channel mode created 9 because it was 8 plus 1, which is arming. So, is that only due to this change, future modes no longer skip channel 5? So, wait a minute, just so I understand this, if you keep it in normal, channel 5 is arming, does 8 channel mode still give you 8 plus 1, which is 9, or do you now lose a channel as a result of this? Is the question I'm asking. Does this change mean you would lose a channel? Or does it only become this when you change from the arming mode? So is it clever enough to know when you're in the normal mode where channel 5 is arming, you lose a channel? So in theory, this change then always loses. This move means you lose a channel, basically. You lose a channel, but I put a PAR in to fix that. What would be ideal, and here's me in the armchair throwing stones. Future mode. So you mean when you create a new mode, not the existing modes, you mean? So if you created a new mode, it would follow this. What would be ideal is when you are in normal channel 5 switching, 8-channel mode gives you 8 channels plus the channel 5 switching, and then when you switch this into custom mode, it then goes... Oh, it's a future viewers mode. Oh yeah, wait a minute, I'm not seeing future. Ah, right, okay. Full resolution, yeah. Right, okay. Yeah, because full resolution mode would be... Okay, that makes sense. That's incredible. That's really cool. Expanded PWM receiver output offerings. You bought the whole servo, used the whole servo. Available servo stretch mode now extends input to 500 to plus 2,500. Wow. Okay, nice. Failsafe ranges have been extended and D-Shot 3D modes have been added. Statistical Adaptive Dynamic Power, SADP. Instead of fixed SNR values compiled into the firmware, the dynamic power system will now statistically model the signal-to-noise ratio expected to result in plus minus 99% LQ and adjust the power level to achieve that. This majorly improves the dynamic power from the LR1121 systems, which 3x10 tended to greatly toward full blast power. Okay, so on the LR12 on it used to push too much power. Now it goes up, up, up for a moment, but you're going to be in the golden. Okay, nice. New web UI interface, very nice. It's had a bit of an upgrade. Nice to see, nice to see, nice to see. Improved telemetry bandwidth, double telemetry bandwidth when operated in Gemini mode. We're putting eggs in every basket now. Instead of redundant packets, the telemetry downlink now sends data across both Gemini packets, doubling the Gemini bandwidth. Okay. So basically, rather than it sending the same telemetry data twice before that you were doing, you're basically saying, hey, we don't need the redundancy on telemetry data, so double the bandwidth, please. Okay, that makes sense. Head tracking more than heads. It is still pre-release. New DJ output protocol. Now, this is a big one I have to thank Wes for because I whinged at him about it. He did it, and then I took ages to test it, but it does work, and he was amazing. This basically allows you to use an ExpressLRS receiver to manually arm DJI-03. So you don't have to use a flight controller. But more than this, it allows you to permanently set it as ARM as well. He created a permanent ARM setting. Now, I don't know is that in this, the permanent ARM. But if it isn't, it's still a great feature. It really, really is. It's one of those things that we asked for this when 03 didn't have manual power mode. But this is still relevant in 04 world, and here is why. DJI 04 offers up to 2 watts of RF power, but it only offers 2 watts of RF power in auto mode FCC. If you set 04 to manual power mode, you're limited to 1200 milliwatts. So if you want to get the maximum RF power from 04, you're still going to want to use this. So it does actually still have a very relevant purpose in 04 world, and whilst it felt like, oh, you might not need it, it is required. Work with Vistas as well. It should work with all of the DJI systems. But it is still relevant to 04, even though you've now got manual power mode settings. And that's a really important thing to understand from it. So for the fixed wing guys, bob on. New telemetry protocol supported, which is good to see. More robust syncing. Right. New OTA now requires nonce lock. Nonce lock. Right. To function. Ensure that TX and RX share a consistent state. There were certain cases where you could start a connection, but the link quality would stay very low, 10 to 20%, even at close range. Instead of this failed sync going on indefinitely, the connection can no longer progress without a proper sync, and the RX will automatically retry the connection. It solves the radio off check failsafe issue where sometimes the receiver behaved erratic after reconnect. I like the feature. I'm not sure about the name. Yeah. Little boys and their little toys. Making our code less garbagey. It's a common term in the UK as well, but it's not for programming. I can promise you that. Basically, they've tidied up their shit, is what they're saying there. Garbagey. And really, that's the main stuff to think about. Yes. Overall, it's a real nice update. Real nice update. And it is amazing work. And look, guys, this project has delivered. You know, it's probably fair to say ExpressLRS is one of the most successful projects in FPV. It's certainly been one of the more stable, and I'm not trying to take anything away from iNav, Betaflight, Ardra any of the others, but ExpressLRS delivered so much out the door so quickly. Please consider supporting this project. They have an open collective page where you can donate, you can make a regular contribution, you can do a single payment. Please consider supporting it. Just amazing work. Really is. Really is. And look, there's some great supporters of this project. The people who've donated, like I'm nowhere near, I've put a little bit in. J Beast $1,000 since February 2022. But if you look at BAYCRC, over $7,000. Jumper RC, over $7,000. A Rabbit Ambulance, $2,000 as a single supporter. iFlight, $2,000. Happy Model, $3,000. Radio Master, $1,500. But again, just remember these brands all support in different ways. Gep RC, Hello Radio Sky, Newbie Drone. From a user perspective, Bardwell is a lot next to Rabbit Ambulance. Bardwell, Brother Hobby. Don't know who Simon is. But look, lots of real great supporters. And look, it's a great dev team. It really is. And it has delivered so much. It really has. Haven't tried it myself yet. I'm going to install this. Just trying to figure out how I deal with the nonce lock before I move forward. Okay. Tell what I do need to do. I need a bunch of ExpressLRS receivers. I've ran out of receivers again. I need to do like a bulk order of receivers because I burn a few out on the bench. The truth is I probably go through 2 or 3 a year on the bench by accident because I'm always doing things like bench testing hardware for reviews, and it generally isn't tidy. It generally is very messy because I'm doing it quite fast. I'm messing around with it on the bench, and then sometimes something will slip and I'll burn a receiver out, a battery cable, will move through. It's usually, I don't really rip the UFLs off. It's usually literally magic smoke. Things are so bad at the moment, and I don't mean it bad as in bad, but I've had to resort to my bench ExpressLRS receiver being the Radio Master. Which one is this? This is the... I can't even read that. It's that small. Yeah, that one. I can't remember which one this is. And this is far from ideal for being a bench test receiver. Yeah, DBR4. There we go. It is far from the ideal bench test receiver just based on size and antennas sticking out everywhere. So I do need to get a bunch of receivers. I probably need to do 10 or 12. I tend to go with the Radio Masters, although I probably need to do an AliExpress order for some really cheap ones for the bench as well, rather than burning out good hardware. You burn the voltage regulators on the good ones. If you get a short, it takes out the small voltage regulator. You know, I could do with a bunch, like, what's the price of an RP1? Yeah, see, these are too good for the bench, 18 quid, $18. They're great receivers, but they're too good for the bench. But to be honest, I could do with a bunch. Probably XR1 would probably be where I go now for my standard receiver. For my, do you know what? Yeah, I probably would choose the XR1 as my standard receiver moving forward. 10 Speedy Bees from AliExpress. Yeah, I haven't looked on Ali to see what the cheapest ones are. You know, what is the cheapest functional ones that I can get? It is a good deal. That is an incredible receiver for a good deal for that price. It really is an incredible receiver for that price. What's the telemetry power on that one again? I think, is it... It's not 100 mil... Oh, it is 100 milliwatts. Wow. Do I think the pocket antenna would fit the 8TL top or just solder a pigtail? I'd do a solder pigtail and mount a UFL. It'll be easier. Yeah, that's a great receiver for that money. Cheap. Oh, look at that, $2. Is that real? JMUs? That cannot be real. Can it? Really? $2. Maximum one per shopper. Well, that's no good. Yeah, but on 10, I'm less worried. 10 pieces there for $110. That's £11. You know, £10, £11 each. I'd like a bit. I'm trying to find what is, you know, let's go for bench testing. I'd like bottom basement. I really am quite happy to go. What have we got? No. Speedy Bee Nano. I guess this is the one you were talking about. Question. ExpressLRS devs, you're here. PA01. Do you have one? Question mark. If so, is it a TCXO? It was a question I had, and I don't know because I didn't take the RF module apart. That's $8.45. That's pretty cheap. It's one per shopper again. Why is that shipping to the USA? Can I ship to the UK? I don't know. I was asked the question, and I don't know because I didn't take it apart that far to have a look. See, that's no good. One per shopper. That's well, that's not a good price now either. That's 2 pieces for $20. Ah, here we go. That's more like it. $70 for 10. That's okay. Is that the LR chipset? No, that's one SX1281 ESP8285. So where are you selecting? Ah, there you go. You're selecting this, sorry. 915 2.4. 70 quid for 10. That's alright. To be honest, I don't need 10 of them. I only need 5. I could do with 5 for the bench. 5 for the bench, and then I'll get some of the Radio Masters for builds. I'm definitely going to be ordering some of the Radio Masters. That price is... that is solid. The only thing I'm always just a bit dubious about is these dual antennas. I'd be tempted to order these in 5 of that antenna and 5 of that antenna, and I can swap round between them. Is what I can then do. Or I'd even be tempted to order 7. Yeah, I tell you what would be interesting is some of. I don't know, has anyone done any objective testing on these dual antennas? The problem is you're testing specific brands, so you'd have to test Radio Masters versus Radio Masters versus Radio Masters. It's an interesting test I wouldn't mind doing, actually, of how these antennas perform on 2. I'm less worried about 900 megs because when I've seen the teardown of these antennas, what usually happens is the 915 element is connected and the 2.4 element is inductive. And basically, it's a driven element through induction, resonance, I should say, not induction, on the main driven element. So the way it actually works is they only physically connect the 915 element, and then the second element is actually simply a correct wavelength element, so a half wavelength, quarter wavelength element, full wavelength even if you wanted to, next to this driven element, and then it resonates, not induces, it resonates when you have 2.4 gigs in this one. But I am not convinced the performance is the same, but I have no evidence to back that up. And that is something I am going to test on the channel. Because that is an interesting question. That is a fantastic receiver. It's just a little expensive to buy 10 of them. Seems on the Radio Master ER8 is possible to select power levels up to 2 watts. Yeah, it doesn't mean the receiver will do 2 watts. You're just configuring it to a setting that doesn't exist. Talking about Speedy B, what's going on with the shortage of FCs? Ukraine. That's all I need to say. Is there a... Five times ExpressLRS receivers. Is there any packs of 5 that are cheap? Doesn't look like it. Oh, here we go. Ooh, wait a minute. Did I see the HD0 goggle scratch coating issues? Yeah, I've seen this, but I don't know is this a real issue or not. And the reason I say this is this. Let me just look and find it a minute. 1 second. Let me find what I want to show you. Here they are. So, for those who haven't seen this, and where was this posted? Was this on the HD0 Facebook page or was this on Discord? I saw this. Discord, yes. I saw this. And I'm not sure how much of a real issue this is. And the reason I say that is this. Let me get onto HD0. And the reason I'm saying this is this. Let me just bring it up first. Okay. Oh, Discord is bringing up a look back at your past. I don't want to look at my past. Go away. So, Ryan has posted this picture on Discord. So, it seems some users have been complaining of their lenses on the new HD0 goggles scratching. And as a result of this, they said they want to address recent feedback regarding the HD0 Goggle 2 and lens concerns about scratching. These lenses are made from high-quality glass and use a specialised optical coating to maximise optical clarity. While the coating improves images, it can be more susceptible to scratches than the underlying glass. Most scratches come from wiping the lens with a shirt. Beginning of January, all manufactured units will come with a protective insert in the box. Customers can do it. In the meantime, and you will be able to request 1 pair of protective lens inserts free of charge. So what they're offering is a piece of glass that goes over the front of the lens. Now, I'm not convinced this is specifically an issue with HD0 alone, because I want to show you something, right? As he uses his t-shirt. These are my DJI goggles 2. If we go to the overhead, and I show you the lenses on these, let me brighten that up. These suffer from exactly the same issue. Now, let me just find a lens cloth so I can show you it properly, because that there is still dirty. Right, I can see this now. Let me get in close and focus. Ooh. Now, these are my goggles too. Yes, they're dirty. Please ignore the dirt. And let me now try and find... Let me just get it so it sorts itself out. Come on, camera. Today, that's slow. Thank you. There. These goggles have always had this issue as well, where there is a coating on the lens of the DJI goggles 2. And it starts to do what you're seeing here. It's quite a well-known issue. You'll see it there as well. It's this coating that marks up. And I can't see it. My goggles too are hammered, as you can see. I've even lost a chunk of foam. But they're fine. They're fine. But look. It isn't specific to the HD0 goggles, I would say that. Now, To be fair, I don't have a dramatic amount of flight time on my goggles, HD0 goggles 2. I couldn't sit here and say, oh, I've got loads of flight time on them, because I have got flight time on them, but I've also been using the version 1s because I had them around. Where's my lens cloth gone? 1 second, let me just find, there should be a lens cloth here as well. Right. So, if we now have a look at mine, mine are fine. There's nothing on mine. Yeah, mine are okay. But you can see they have that sort of colour to them. They do have that sort of darkness. You can see like a green colour over the lens. And it's the same on the DJI. So I wouldn't say it is specific to HD0. It is prevalent on these as well. But they have offered this lens kit, which is going to offer protection. And it's going to be available for people to have free of charge if they want it. I'm not sure I'd call this a design issue. I think it's a reality of there is a coating on the lens and you need to be careful about it. This reminds me of old plasma TVs. For anyone who's been at when we had plasma TVs, most plasma TVs had a coating on it and you had to be really careful because it could scratch. It absolutely could scratch. Right, guys, let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. No, I haven't. Have we had another super chat? I can't tell because YouTube isn't showing me super chats. If someone else has sent me a super chat, I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, YouTube is not listing the super chats in the super chat viewer activity list. It's blank. Yes, same these days when people clean their PC screens, I suppose, of alcohol. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not... Look, I think I wouldn't call this a technical issue. I would call this a be careful with the lenses issue. I might even mention this on a video. This would make a nice little filler video, if I'm honest. If I'd have recorded this properly, I'd have taken a cut of it. You never know. I might go back and have a look at it, put it together. What I do find is I sometimes do things. I thought, oh, I'll take a cut of that. And I end up, when I look at cutting it, it's not together well. So I then ended up just recording it anyway. This week from me, you're going to have a video on the new KISS Ultra version 3. That's coming this week. Very short video. It's not very long. It's 15 minutes, I think it is. Just an overview of the KISS Ultra version 3. I'm trying to fucking fly, but I can't because the weather is horrific. I'm going to decide what I want to put the Ascent VTX in. I'm going to probably put it in a quad first. I got 2 of them, so... But I need one for the bench testing. But I need to test that. There is also I'm in the process of re-recording a full digital FPV video, which is quite a big one, but I don't know how long that's going to take to get ready. I've got a bunch of videos that are like 3/4 recorded, but I can't finish them. So it's just the weather is preventing me. I've got that little drone I want to fly, which is the Wally Eagle. I've got the Flywoo lens kit. But again, I can't fly. The weather is horrific. So, yeah. It's just horrific. Right. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's donated on the Super Chats. Please do consider checking out FPV Wiki. And finally, I just want to say, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as Buy Me a Coffee. Genuinely, It is only through the support of my Patreons I'm able to keep making content on this channel. Oh my God. I do this at the end of every video, and I generally don't fluff it. And then I fluffed it there. It is genuinely only through the support of my Patreons I'm able to keep making the content. I could not do this. You know, look, we're buying the Antigravity. We would not be able to do this on the channel without your support. We will maybe do an unboxing of the Antigravity this week if it comes tomorrow. Let's see. It's going to take me a little bit of time to really get to grips, but I do have some specific content in my mind we're going to be making. So if you're interested in seeing it, hit that button as well. Anyway, that's it. Shilling done. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. And I will speak to you guys soon. Button 1.